Hello, friends. My name is Eric Cloward, and welcome to the Stoic Coffee Break. The Stoic Coffee Break is a weekly podcast where I take an aspect of Stoicism and do my best to break it down to its most important points. I share my successes and my failures, and hope that you can learn something from my experience and help improve your life. Today's episode is called Whining or Winning. Do you think that life is fair? Do you think that life is unfair? Are others winning when you're not? Today I want to talk about how we can fall into a bad way of thinking that reduces our ability to take responsibility for ourselves and blame our unhappiness on the world outside of us. Complaining about a problem without posing a solution is called whining. Teddy Roosevelt. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Epictetus. From time to time, I like to hop on the Stoicism subreddit and participate in discussions. I really appreciate that most of the people on there are pretty thoughtful and respectful, and I often learn something new or see things in a new light. But there's a kind of post that I see on there from time to time, which I think is pretty sad. And it usually comes from someone who is upset that they are not getting all of the things that they want and think that they deserve in their life. They complain that their job sucks or that they're struggling with school and that the teachers are mean and out to get them, or they're afraid to go talk to somebody they find attractive and they're upset that they can't get a date. They talk about how they tried to be stoic, but they aren't getting what they think they deserve. They complain that other people still treat them poorly, even though they are trying to be stoic. And generally, there's just a lot of blaming of others for their misfortune and lashing out at the world in general. So today's episode is going to be a little bit of a rant, but I hope that you can bear with me as I walk through some of these ideas. Don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. Marcus Aurelius. Now, one of the hardest things for many of us to wrap our heads around in this world is this one simple fact, and that is that we are entitled to nothing. We deserve nothing in this world. And I'm sure that's going to be upsetting for those of you who think that life should be fair, but I'm going to give you a hint. Life is not fair, and it never will be. I mean, think about it from a logical perspective. How could life be fair? Because there's nothing in the universe that would be able to enforce some type of external rule of fairness. And if we try to create a society of absolute fairness, well, who would be given the task of deciding what is fair? Would that be up to you? Or me? I mean, as much as I'd like to think that I would be a good arbiter of fairness, I know that because of my own biases and personal feelings, I could make a system that I think would be pretty fair that plenty of others would absolutely disagree on. We could never get everyone to agree on what the definition of fairness is. And as much as we might wish it, fairness is not something that is intrinsic in the universe. It is not a natural law like gravity. It is something that we have to create on our own as a society. I mean, interestingly enough, I think this is proven out because one of the core virtues of Stoicism is that of justice. And what that means to me is that we need to help bring justice into the world because it's not already a natural or intrinsic part of the world. What's ironic about this is that most people I see complaining about the fact that the world isn't fair are those that want the world to bend in a way that benefits them. Now, if this were to happen, wouldn't that make it so the world was unfair again? Because it benefits them and not somebody else? Don't demand that things will happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they happen, and you will go on well. Epictetus. Another part of posts like this that I want to talk about is this idea that they have in there that if you act virtuously, then everything will work out for you exactly the way that you want it to. That people around you will change who they are simply because you are trying to be a good and virtuous person. That because you act like a good person, then everything will simply come to you because you deserve it. And I think we all know that this is never going to be the case. To put it bluntly, you don't deserve anything. Just because you want something or think that you deserve something just doesn't matter. The universe doesn't care. You can think that all you want. And just because you are nice doesn't mean that you should get to date somebody that you find attractive. Just because you act virtuous doesn't mean that other people will be nice to you or not try to take advantage of you, or that good things won't happen to bad people. Of course, who are you to decide if they are bad people? The reason that you act virtuously is not so that others will change for you. It is so that you act in a way that you feel good about, that you are living a life that you are proud of. I mean, life is going to happen to you regardless of your character. And having good character doesn't mean that everything will simply go your way. In fact, I would argue that if you think you deserve something because you have good character, then you probably don't have good character. Because to me, somebody with a good character would recognize that they don't deserve anything just by thinking that they are a good person. You cultivate virtue and build your character because it's something that you want for you. You want to be a good person, not so that you get something or you earn something. You cultivate virtue because that's the kind of person that you want to be. Happiness is not the absence of problems. It's the ability to deal with them. Steve Maraboli. Another common thread that I notice is that most of the complaints in these types of posts are based on outcomes that they want. They complain about how they are not getting the things that they want. And rather than looking at what they are doing and finding where it doesn't work and making changes to figure out why things aren't working, they're just simply blaming others for why they are failing. Now, when you get something without having to work for it, you miss out on all the lessons you need to learn in order to handle the success that you have. If you haven't learned to be charming, fun, or to be an interesting person, and you happen to land a date with somebody that you're attracted to, why should they stick around? I mean, you haven't given them any reason to do so. Have you put in the work to be a good partner? What do you bring to the table that would make them want to date you? What about their preferences and free will? Just as you wouldn't want to date somebody that you're not interested in, why should they be forced to do that? What these people are asking for is all the reward without the work. Now, as an example, if you were to get a college diploma, but you didn't actually earn it and do the work, I mean, what happens when you get hired and after a few weeks, your manager realizes that you don't have the skills to do your job? You're probably not going to last very long in that position. Because doing the work is how you gain the skills to be good at what you do. And doing the work is how you're able to sustain what you've actually earned. I mean, let's say, for example, you wanted to be a firefighter. And maybe someday you'd like to be the leader of a firefighting squad. And let's just say that on your first day on the job, they just give you that position. Would you be very good at it? Would you know what to do and how to safely put out a fire and help those in danger and keep your team safe? You probably wouldn't. In fact, if you were given that position without the experience or training, then you would probably be a bigger danger to yourself and those around you. It's only through putting in the work that you learn how to safely and effectively fight a fire and lead a team. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. The 14th Dalai Lama. Now, I know that today's episode was a little bit of a rant, and it was mostly because, like I said, I see these posts on Reddit from time to time, and more than anything, I find it sad that these people are missing the whole point of what life is about. I mean, if you thought about life as climbing up a mountain, for example, the whole goal of doing this is the climb itself. Meaning if you went and took a helicopter and flew to the top of the mountain, got off and stood there for 5 minutes, you didn't climb that mountain. You didn't actually summit it. You didn't take part in the journey that actually needed to take place for you to claim that you climbed that mountain. And the thing is that you are responsible for the results of your life. If you want to be successful in your life, study successful people. And you'll find that those who are truly successful are usually those that take responsibility for their actions. They don't blame other people for why they're failing. Recognize the things that are blocking your path and figure out how to work around them. When you put that kind of work in, you gain the skills to overcome any obstacle in your path. And in my experience, when you stop complaining and take a good look in the mirror, you see that the biggest blocker to your success is you. And that's the end of this week's Stoic Coffee Break. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and thanks for listening.